Hey everyone, I'm Johnny, and this is my co-host Connor.
Hey, and welcome to our new podcast, Dad Shoes.
Have you ever wondered where a dad joke comes from?
Or how dads just seem to have the right wisdom for the moment?
Or you're just trying to figure out what your dad was thinking? Maybe you are a dad and just need to hear,
Hey man, us too.
well, we're learning what it's like to wear the dad shoes.
We would like to invite you to join us on the journey. First things first, though, John. Have you seen Justice League?
Think so. They did the new Batman vs. Superman. It was Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yeah.
I thought it was actually kind of cool. I like Ben Affleck, sue me. But yeah, so it was Ben Affleck or Batman vs. Superman. And Ben Affleck vs. Superman. It was Batman vs. Superman.
It took me a while to catch that.
And then they had Wonder Woman, and then they had Aquaman. It's like you got a movie for everybody except that Superman. And
Well, no, that Superman was the one from Man of Steel.
Man of Steel from like 2002?
It's been a while, but yeah, it was that Superman.
Wait, the Superman from...
I don't know, the most recent Superman solo movie.
Isn't that the guy from Legends?
Legends of Tomorrow, that TV show?
Yeah. Okay, so he was
No.
Superman with Michael Keaton? Not Michael Keaton.
No, you're thinking of Kevin Spacey. You're thinking of Superman Returns.
Oh, that's what that was?
Yeah, that was Superman Returns. That one was like 02, 04.
Oh, okay. That's
This
what I'm
was
thinking
Man
of.
of Steel, like
Oh,
in the 2010s.
with Geralt. With The Witcher.
Yes, with The Witcher.
Yes, okay. You know what? His face just popped into my head, and he had the cool suit.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I remember.
That was the beginning of this new DC extended universe era. You know, they're trying to do the same thing that the MCU has.
Right.
Justice League comes out. Chaos ensues. People are unhappy.
As the internet is wont to do.
As the internet does. So now they announced, I think yesterday, officially, that the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League will be released on HBO Max. And the internet does not know how to feel about this.
I don't know how to feel about that. Yeah, I mean, I love superhero movies, and I was always a fan of The Flash. And I mean, I've always been more partial to Marvel than DC.
I find this topic interesting to me because I did not like Justice League like most of the world. It was fun.
I remember thinking that I didn't like it. I enjoyed it, but it was like,
Yeah.
I didn't need it. It was fine.
There's
I could
like
take it or leave
a
it.
code that I have with my brother when we see new movies like this. If one of us will see a movie before the other one and it's like, oh, how was it? I'll say it's fun. Justice League was fun. And what that means is I enjoyed watching it. Like, it's not a good movie, but it's fun.
That's funny.
You know, you can think of movies that fit that category, I'm sure.
Sure.
If you like that kind of stuff, go see it. It's fun.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy seeing the superheroes on the big screen. But,
Right. Don't get too down in the weeds about
yeah, just don't get too emotionally attached to this. It's a movie.
right.
Anyway, so they're releasing the Snyder Cut. Some people are upset, though, because they feel that the studio has been bullied into creating this by the fans.
I can see that argument. I get that. You can't force people to make content for you, but
Because we talked a little bit about this last week.
we did. I know I cut it out, but you were all about it.
Yeah, I was very heated about The Rise of Skywalker.
I meant what I said. You know, I consume movies. I know what I like. And I also don't always know what I like. I have
Yes.
seen many movies
Okay.
and I'm like Juno is a great example. I did not want to go see it. I was told it's a movie about a teenager that gets pregnant, and I thought, why the heck would I want to go see that? And 5 minutes into it, I started laughing and I didn't stop the whole time. I didn't know I needed that in my life. But there's sometimes when it's like, just listen to what the fans are saying. Sometimes it's stupid. Like with Rise of Skywalker, they didn't need to make Kylo Ren and Rey a thing. Those movies are fun without a couple.
Yeah.
So you don't need to ship people.
People are obsessed with that. And this is two married guys talking about this. And we both very much enjoy being married. But
Yep.
I think American culture as a whole has a problem with single people. I think I have a pretty good idea for how The Rise of Skywalker could have ended and made a lot more sense to me personally. Now, granted, I'm not a movie editor. I'm not a movie producer. I'm not a movie writer. I'm a movie consumer.
Right. I enjoyed The Rise of Skywalker.
It was a fun movie.
It was a fun movie.
Will I buy it to complete the collection? Absolutely.
Yeah, as a binary review, it was a 1 to complete the collection.
It finishes the story. I just think The Last Jedi also finished the story.
I don't remember it that much. I mean, I just watched The Rise of Skywalker because we talked about it.
Man, if you guys want to talk to me about Star Wars, I would love to have a conversation with you because I genuinely enjoy Star Wars. When I first saw The Last Jedi, I loved it. And then shortly after I first saw it, I decided I did not love it. I had a lot of problems with how it was handled. And now that I've seen The Rise of Skywalker, I love it again. I see where it was trying to go now, and I see how maybe in a way that Rian Johnson and Disney didn't mean, they kind of connected back to the Legends universe.
Did they?
Yeah, in The Last Jedi, they talk a lot about the legend of Luke Skywalker.
Right.
And in my mind, I just thought, oh, how cool would it be if that was like in some way a reference to the books that are no longer canon.
They're legends.
Because they're legends, right? It's like maybe Luke Skywalker didn't do those things.
But maybe he did.
In the Legends universe, Luke Skywalker was a total boss. He was the Superman of the Star Wars universe.
Wait a minute. So the way I always viewed Luke was he was kind of a little sissy.
Scruffy looking nerf herder.
No, he wasn't even that awesome. It was like Han Solo was the guy, but Luke could, kind of manipulate things with his mind, sort of.
They talk about this idea of the legend of Luke Skywalker and the legend of the Jedi. I think that was a cool nod to the books because they're called the Legends. And maybe Rian Johnson didn't mean to do that, but I'm going to pretend that he did.
He probably did.
And honestly, you could have just left it there. That was the end of Luke Skywalker. That was the beginning of Rey. That was the relaunch of the Resistance. And you could have just capped it right there and let it go on into eternity. They needed to make 3 movies because it's all trilogies.
Right, and I don't understand why this has to be the end of the series. I don't get it. It didn't end. In my mind, the series starts at episode 1, this whole Skywalker series, because... And it really should be called the Padme series because it's all her fault. She knew better, and she still went along with it. This family... Okay, so I guess I see how it ends.
Yeah.
I guess because now the family is dead.
Anyway, so if Disney wants to take any requests for rewrites, I would love to voice my opinion.
I'm here for it.
But yeah, I'm excited about the new Justice League, the Zack Snyder release. I'm going to watch it, but let us know what you think. You can tweet us at DadCheesePod on Twitter. You can email us at dadcheesepod@gmail.com. Should studios listen to the fans?
And that's all we got for this week, so peace.
All right, now we need to go to another topic.
All right. What do you call someone who cleans the outside of the International Space Station?
I don't know. What do you call them?
A vacuum cleaner.
A vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, I don't know where he plugs it in, but he's got one.
Ooh, don't ask. They could put plugs on the outside of the space station.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, it's space, man. Don't limit yourself. Why did cows wear bells?
I don't know, man. Why?
Because their horns don't work.
That's what we should have done. Oh, put that one in somehow.
Yeah. Can you hear my wife laughing?
No.
That's a good one. The more you think about it, the funnier it gets. Because you think about their little nubby horns.
What's better? Imagine they've got big old massive horns, like long horns, but they're shaped like a bicycle horn.
Or they make the noise. That's my best impression of a bike horn.
We have a bicycle horn in our bushes. It was actually somebody put it in my neighbor's bushes, and I saw it, and it's one of those horns. And every time I see it, I'd squeeze it. But then she started cleaning out her bushes the other day, so I took it and I put it in mine because I just think it's so funny that there's a horn in the bushes. So every time I walk by, that's so funny. Oh man, so I'm going to change the topic here.
Yeah, let's get a topic change.
All right, so you watch the news at all?
Nope. That's not true, yeah. I watch the news as much as I can with a toddler in the house who does not like to watch the news.
So when I get home, we turn the news on.
I listen to NPR a lot every day.
I love NPR, dude. 6 months ago, I don't know if you remember hearing this. This is 2019, it's before COVID-19 was a thing. Kids in Europe started coming down with this inflammatory disease. And it was super rare. They didn't have a name for it, but they were like going to this almost like shock. That kind of went to the wayside. About a month ago, I started hearing about these kids getting this similar inflammatory disease. And they didn't know what it was, but they were having heart failure and they couldn't breathe. I was like, okay, well, that's something I need to be concerned about because it's going to affect my kids. Come to find out, it's not the virus that causes this severe inflammation. The body kills off the virus. It's so effective at killing off this virus. It just throws the immune system into overdrive. That really started concerning me because I'm still out and about. And I was tested. I didn't know if I told you this. I was tested on Monday.
Oh, I did not know that. When do you get your results? Or did you
3
already?
to 6 days.
Well, good luck. We're almost in a place where we've been doing this for a little over 2 months now. You know, we've been in this kind of quarantine, social distancing situation, and it almost feels like it's past. And maybe it's because for me, I haven't had anyone close to me in the hospital or anything like that. I have had people, you know, who work and have come in contact with people who are infected.
Present company included.
Yeah. And so thankfully, no one in my family has had any super serious consequences. We're social distancing. We're not going out unless we have to. I'm working from home. But it almost feels like, oh, I guess we're kind of past it now. I'm sure there's other people out there who feel that way. And the sad thing is that is just not the case at all. Like, we are still just as much dealing with this as we were a month ago.
Yeah, 2 months ago.
Somebody posted online just kind of a mindset to put things in perspective. And it was that as we reopen, the message is not that the coronavirus is solved. The message is that we now have room for you in the hospital.
Yes. I don't know what that was on, but I heard the same thing.
We were flattening the curve for our healthcare system to make sure the hospitals weren't overflowing. And now that they're not, we think we're at a place where, yeah, if you get it, we'll have room for you.
Now we have a bed for you. And I'd thought, and I heard this on a little bit of content recommendation, Make Me Smart. It's another NPR podcast, Make Me Smart, and they were talking about the same thing. They were talking about flatten the curve, and I had thought that flatten the curve meant 100,000 people are going to get sick during this event. Just throwing out numbers. If we flatten the curve, 100,000 people are still going to get sick, but instead of it being all in 1 month, it'll be in 6 months. And what that really meant was, if we're looking at 100,000 people getting sick in 1 month, with flattening the curve, what we're looking at is maybe 80,000 people get sick over 6 months. So we're going to flatten the curve, and because we're doing that, we're reducing the number of people that are going to get sick also. So it's like a twofold benefit for the medical industry. We flatten the curve, and that doesn't mean that we're done. It just means there's room for you in the hospital. So I thought that was just fantastic to put it into perspective.
Yeah, perspective, I think, is the right word for that. Well, John, I have a dad topic for you.
Please get me to something that has to do with dads. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Brought this up to you a little while ago, and you were unfamiliar, though I think you're more familiar than you know.
Yeah.
And that is the idea, the concept of the dad tax.
Right.
How do you feel about taxes?
All right. Listen, here's what's up. The government has things they need to do, and those things require money. So,
in the same way, dads have things they need to do, and they require food from your plate.
Kids?
To do it.
Okay. All right. You asked me about taxes, man. You started something totally different. All right, so what's a dad tax?
Very
Connor?
similar. Very similar, though. You're familiar with the dad tax. If your child has food and you want to take a bite, you take a bite.
Does it have to be food?
I guess not. It could be a drink. Could be a toy, and you play a little
bit.
I think of it mostly in terms of food. Like, if I'm making my son a plate of food, and I'm like, you know what, I just need a bite of that. And you just, like, pick one up, you know. Give him a bowl of goldfish, take one for yourself. You know, it's the dad tax.
Absolutely. So it's funny, I am familiar with the dad tax because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. But after you brought it up to me, like, hey, man, we need to talk about the dad tax. The next day, I think it was the next day, I'm at work and I'm driving out of this neighborhood, and there's a dad with 3 kids.
That dad gets a fat dad tax.
And all of them are on scooters, right? Like razor scooters.
Yep.
And they're pushing, I mean, you can see, dad's taking them on a scoot. leaving the gate. They're leaving the neighborhood, right? The youngest kid was probably 4 or 5, scooting along and having a time of it. And Dad's pulling them out of the road because there's a car coming into the neighborhood. And Dad is on a freaking electric scooter, just like zzz, running all around. And I look back and I'm like, dude, that's the dad tax. It's like a different commodity than what you're talking about. But that's it.
It's not food, it's the
toys,
toys.
man. The kids they're scooting because they're kids. They need to exercise, right? That's how that works.
Yeah.
But me, listen, man, I gotta accompany you. I'm a scoot on my scooter and it's electric. I'm just gonna electric scoot. Man, all right. I'm saying it now. I'm
Trademark
trademarking
that right now.
electric scoot.
Electroscute. Let's Google that. Make sure nobody else has it already.
Has it, then we'll put the kibosh on that.
But yeah, the dad tax. The dad tax is a real thing, and I certainly enjoy the dad tax.
You know what? It's funny because I almost have a kid tax.
Well, that's a whole
okay, because I had one of those today.
That's almost like a tactic to get your kid to eat food. At least I've used it that way.
Oh, you know what? It is. I can totally see why that becomes a tactic to get your kid to eat food, because I have done that.
Yeah, like I'm going to eat this thing, and my daughter did it to me today, because I'll get a banana, and I'll sit down on the couch with a banana. And for us, I'm not saying this is universal to dads, but for us, if I am eating food on the couch or in my chair, that is when they come. That is when they want my food. Because it's like, ooh, this dad's not eating this at the table. This must be real good. My daughter started doing this to me. She's 9 months old, and if I'm eating something she wants, she'd come right up and take it.
Is she walking yet?
Not quite. She is
like
almost there. She's taking 2 and 3 steps. She's crawling real fast. Or she'll get up on the couch
and cruise.
And she'll use her hands to walk herself over to me using the couch at the table, and she just wants some of that banana, man. My son used to do the same thing.
Funny.
If I had something, and what I started doing, if I wanted my son to eat something, I would go sit down with it, and that's when he would come up and say, ooh, he's got something good, because he's not at the table.
I may have to use that, because we ran into this issue. I've been doing this thing where I don't eat during the day, and it's not intermittent fasting. I'm not doing it because it's a trend. I just found months before that I feel better when I don't eat lunch. So I haven't eaten anything all day. It's 5 o'clock. I've been working. I have been soaked all day in sweat because it was really humid. I only got rained on a little bit, but I wasn't wet from that. It was just so humid. Anyways, I come in and I just want a snack. So I grabbed some chips. But then I realized not only do we have chips, but we got those pretzels with peanut butter in them. And I thought, well, if I'm going to have snacks, I might as well
go big.
Get some protein in me. Yeah, so I went with those. And Charlotte May comes over and she loves those things. And she goes, mine? And she's been kind of a brat the last couple of days. But she was super happy all of a sudden. And she looks up and she goes, please? So then I gave her some, right? And I figured, okay, I'm snacking. She can have some because I'm having some. Right? It's kind of a kid tax. That's like the reverse of a dad tax.
We'll need a better name.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it.
If you could think of a good name for the reverse dad tax, when the kids come get your food, what do we call that? The dad tax, we take food. What do we call it when the kids take our food? Let us know at DadCheesePod on Twitter.
I've done the same thing because my kids love goldfish. One of them loves goldfish. The other one's just learning how to eat sweet potatoes. But I'll get her a bag of goldfish, a little pack of goldfish. I'm going to have a few of them. I totally know what you're talking about. I never heard it called the dad tax before.
I don't know. I can't claim that I have coined the term. I'm sure I've heard it before. But the second I started taking my kids goldfish, I was like, oh, this is the dad tax, man.
You know what? Yeah.
Like when I take a bite and my wife gives me a look and I'm like, oh, it's the dad tax.
I think every dad can appreciate the dad tax. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how long you've been a dad. Well, maybe you may have to have a kid that's eating food, but I think every dad knows about the dad tax, whether you know what it's called or not. And as soon as somebody says, dude, that's a dad tax, or this is what the dad tax is, it's like, oh, yeah, of course. I know what the dad tax is. It's part of being a dad.
The problem I have now is my son has gotten to the point where he is caught on. You know, he knows that there's a dad tax, and he feels just how you would expect people to feel about taxes.
Listen. You gotta let him know. You've got to let him know.
If it's a real good food, he's like, oh no, you took that, and I'm not happy.
Listen, The only two things for certain in life are death and taxes. The dad tax is a tax. Let me ask you, Connor, and I'm going to cut you off as soon as you say it, because I know what the answer is.
Okay.
What show have you been watching recently? Not show, but like, what have you been watching? I know you were doing the MCU. You're going through the MCU. But is that it? I mean, is that it? Because there's only so much you can watch.
There's only so much I could watch. What are you going to cut me off for? That's what I want to know. So I started. I don't want to ruin your thing too. So I'm gonna talk, and it might not be what you wanted me to do. I started a couple weeks ago. I committed to watch the MCU, all of the MCU. I've been wanting to do it for a while and just wasn't making the time. Well, I finally made the time. I wrote it on my calendar. Like every other day, I have a movie on the calendar.
Every other day?
Right, it's every other day. There's a movie on the calendar for me to watch. And weekends, there's 3 movies.
Whoa.
Yeah, well, it's either a movie on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday, depending on how the week falls. But like each weekend, there's 3 movies. And I'm currently in the middle of Phase 2 of the MCU.
2. So what is that? What is Phase 2?
So Phase 2, it starts after Avengers, of course.
But I thought you were already on, like, Winter Soldier or something.
Yeah, that's Phase 2. Looking back, before I started this, it felt like those movies were a lot more recent than they
2008.
were. But now watching them all in order, and I'm doing release order, watching them all in order, it really brings to light the timeline here that we're working with and how recent things really are. Because I also, Phase 2 starts with Iron Man 3.
It does?
It does. Iron Man 3 is the first movie of Phase 2.
Right. It's Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Avengers, then Iron Man 3.
That's the Tony Stark run. So I've been watching the MCU, and I finished Iron Man 2. We had Thor's Day at our house instead of Mother's Day, because we scheduled to watch Thor on Mother's Day.
That's why you texted me that.
Yes.
It was so good. Yes. I loved it, and I'm like, okay, this is funny.
I don't know how I did it, but I managed it so every Sunday is a Thor movie. It just kind of worked out that way.
Ragnarok is a good movie.
I'm a little behind. I am in the middle of Guardians of the Galaxy. I started it last night and I paused it because I was just falling asleep.
It's because you're dad.
I know. I can't do this during the day because my kids are here. So it's only after bedtime or nap time if I can swing it. But I'm in the middle of Guardians of the Galaxy. I've kind of gotten derailed a little bit by Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay, that's what Netflix. I thought you were going to go with.
I know. But then you brought up the Marvel thing. So I wanted to talk about that too because I had a thought now that I'm watching these in order. And I tweeted this today. And I think, Iron Man 3 is just kind of silly.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Wait. Silly like all of the Marvel movies are silly? Or silly like this movie's stupid? No. Let me finish the thought and it'll make sense to you. Because I love Iron Man 3. I think it's the best Iron Man movie. It is the most enjoyable. I love Iron Man 3. It is, I don't want to say underrated because I don't know how other people rate it, but I think it's a great movie. But if you think about it, it's kind of silly, right? Because it's the first movie after Avengers happens. Right. And in my mind, any villain that's going to take on Tony Stark, like Tony Stark should be untouchable. He went through a forking wormhole.
He just saved the planet. Yeah, he went through a wormhole. He brought a nuke into space, okay? And he fought aliens. You cannot touch Tony Stark unless you are willing to take his place, right? Because if you take out Tony Stark and then aliens come back, you are solely responsible for that. Because those aliens don't care, Loki came to conquer the good and the evil. You can't touch Tony Stark unless you're willing to take his place.
You know what? I never thought of it that way. I've listened to a bunch of people, read some stuff, but, people don't like Iron Man 3. I get kind of both ways on it because on one hand, it's like, this is real. This is really Tony Stark. He's got some raw nerves, man.
Yeah.
He's dealing with that PTSD. And
that was something I noticed too, picking on that thought, is I didn't realize how soon after Avengers Iron Man 3 was. I mean, it's the next movie.
Yeah,
and so he is obviously struggling with this New York thing. Looking back on it, it felt like there was more space between those movies, but it's the next one.
Iron Man 3 was 2012?
It's like 2013.
Okay.
Because Avengers was 2012, so it's probably 2013.
Yeah, okay. So it's pretty close. I went through and did what you're doing. I did that when Disney Plus came out. I went through and watched them all, and unfortunately, Spider-Man's not on it.
Nope. I've got my Blu-rays, though.
Yeah, see, I don't have the Blu-rays.
And I did watch The Incredible Hulk because I have that on DVD.
I may have to borrow that from you because I haven't seen that one in years. I remember, I really didn't like it.
It's a good movie. I mean, watching it now as an adult, it's different than when it first came out.
I think I felt about that one the same way I felt about Justice League. Okay, yeah, it was fun. It was kind of stupid. I've seen it since then. As we're talking about it, I can remember scenes from. But anyways, where I thought you were going to go was with The Last Airbender, because that's in there. And I knew what you've been watching, and I saw that you put that up on our list. But
yeah,
my brother just said to me that I need to go through and watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. And not the movie, the TV show.
Yes.
Because the movie, they tried to cram 6 seasons of a TV show into a movie, and it doesn't work, and it's mildly racist.
It is a meme how bad it is.
Right.
You know, people just universally hate that movie. But the TV show, I agree. I think it's great. I went through a whole season in like a day and a half. It's on Netflix now, and the word is that Netflix is working on another live-action series.
He said that too.
Of Avatar.
And so I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but my brother works in the movies, so he's in the know, and you texted me one day, and it was, oh man, I can't remember who it was.
Somebody on Loki. Somebody just got cast.
So my brother's
in the show
working
Loki.
on Loki for Disney Plus.
No, dude, it was Owen Wilson, wasn't
and
it?
you texted me that, what's the deal with Owen Wilson on Loki? And without even a response, I texted my brother, is Owen Wilson on Loki? Yeah, dude, I have no idea. I just found out myself. What does Owen Wilson always say?
Wow. Yeah.
I can't believe, as soon as we started talking about it, wow.
What were you going to, just for posterity's sake, if I had said Avatar: The Last Airbender, what were you going to do to cut me off?
My brother said the same thing 2 days ago. I was just informing you that I'm going to cut you off so that you knew it was coming.
See, because you should have just let it go organically. I would have talked about Avatar, but because you said something about MCU, I'm like, maybe he wants me to talk about the MCU. Do you want to read the outro, or should I?
Yeah, I'll read it. Well, hey, thanks for hanging out with us today on the Dad Shoes. We would really appreciate it if you would share this with your friends. Help us get the word out. If you've enjoyed our podcast, you can reach out to us on Twitter at dadshoespod, or email us at dadshoespod@gmail.com. What dad topics do you want to hear more about? We would love to hear from you. We'd also appreciate it if you'd leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again for hanging out.
Here we